Hey Ian, you ready?
You bet I am. What are we talking about tonight? And talk about guns?
If it's not a 30 cal, I'm not in.
Jeez, mate, that's not very inclusive. Have you seen Jono?
Hey Jono, you ready?
Well, God knows where he is, mate. He's probably caught up in the neighbour's wire again. Are you ready to go? Let's do this.
Mate, I'm ready. Let's crank it up.
Righto then. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hunter's Campfire, where we're going to talk about all things hunting and the great outdoors. And we'll probably throw in a few tips along the way.
You want a tip? Say it once, say it 1,000 times. Goats love rocks.
Or a few things about deer. Mark, what do you reckon about deer?
As a deer hunter, I love hunting pigs.
Well, that's about as useful as I expected it to be. Oh, check it out. Here comes Jono. He's being chased by the neighbour's dog.
Okay guys, let's get this started. Welcome to the Hunter's Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. It's time for the Hunter's Campfire. Good evening, gentlemen, and good evening to everyone who's listening. And tonight we're going to recap our... What do you look at me like that for, Ian? We're going to recap what is it? The 2024 Buffalo Express to Mataranka, Northern Territory. How's
Excellent.
that sound?
Excellent.
Bloody good. Bloody good.
Excellent.
We have Adam, we have Jono, we have Hurls, we have Trevor, and we have Michael. But I think Michael Granger, you need a better name than Michael Granger, man. You need like Robin Hood.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that one?
Most of the bow hunters have like really super tough.
Oh, I need some kind of, what are they? The handle. I need a handle. Yeah,
A
handle.
handle.
I'll have to think of something. Yeah, I'll put it out there to everyone. Yeah, someone come up with something.
So for those who don't know, because you haven't listened or you haven't watched anything on Facebook or YouTube or anything else, we're going to talk about the success, and it was an unmitigated success of the 2024 hunt. So much so that we've decided that it's likely to happen again in 2025.
Going to have to go back.
Yeah, we were heading in a different direction, and we've decided, both literally and figuratively, and we've decided, nope, we're going to return. We know where the action is. So to recap, we drove, 3,500 Ks? Would that be about right?
I was bang on 3,000 each way.
Bang on 3,000 for you. So what? Bang on
3,200 for us.
A little bit further for us. From the Greater Brisbane area, southeast Queensland, to Mataranka in the Northern Territory, but then a 2-hour bull dust eating extravaganza
Wasn't
to
it?
camp.
Getting lost on the way.
Yeah,
Wasn't it from the front vehicle?
yeah. I've been in whiteouts before. That was something different altogether.
Yeah.
To camp, which actually had some water in it, which was very good for us. Turned out to be a fantastic location. Why did we decide to drive, gentlemen? What was the thinking about driving?
Oh, that's an easy answer. 2 years ago when we went, the first time we went ultralight, flew up, had nothing but a pack and a rifle case really each, and a bag on our back for on the plane, and that's all we had. So we were sort of at the mercy of a couple of very nice fellas up in the territory that took us out there, but they had all the camping gear and we had really not much. So we're kind of at the mercy of whatever that camp was. And they did a great job. It was awesome. But like even down to every night, the cooking was done by others. We didn't participate a whole lot in that because it was all their gear and they had it all under control, and that was fine. But this time we also wanted to bring back a heap of meat. So we wanted, logistically, you just can't do that as an ultralight, fly in, fly out type example. So this time we were able to take, what did we get up there in the end? 5 fridges, batteries, solar panel setups, all of that.
I think it was
6 fridges and a bunch of eskies, and we were able to haul out a heap of meat. So we were able to keep everything cold, whereas last time, halfway through the trip, we had to do an ice run out to Mataranka, and that took the whole day pretty much to get out, get ice, come back. And even then, one mistake with the ice, and all of a sudden we had someone drop the backstrap in the ice and it contaminated it. So we were using it for cooling, and we were also using it for drinking. We couldn't do that once it contaminated the water. So this time, dry refrigeration rather than ice was the go, and it just worked really well. I mean, we got down to the wire on the last day. We were all suffering with very low batteries and running out of ice, but as far as the planning went for that, it worked out perfectly, didn't it, fellas?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think having the fridges and that ice in the freezers, when the fridges converted to freezers, really made a big difference, because we had an endless supply. Where last time we were rationing ice and we were worried about it. Plus, obviously, it got contaminated. So yeah, having that supply of ice in there was awesome. And really, I think no one really suffered with the heat. No one got dehydrated. I know we had.
I did on the first day. I think that was almost acclimatizing. We bloody hit it hard the first day, and the baking sun all through that afternoon, and I thought I was okay. I think the thing that got me the most was like the last 800 meters. I was looking at my watch, 800 meters to go, and then in the distance I heard this, and it was these two. Michael and Trevor got back to the car before me, started the aircon and climbed in, and all I could think of was the air conditioning. By the time I got back to the car, I felt like I was fine, but as soon as I sat down and stopped moving, man, the heat stress headache just smashed me. And that afternoon back at camp, I crawled into the camper and lay down, and I wasn't being woken for love nor money. Nothing was waking me up at all. So that was my first day. But other than that, the heat, I think once we acclimatised to it and got all of the hydration sorted out, we all did pretty well.
I didn't think it was as hot as the last time we were up there. I don't know about you.
I think there was less humidity this time.
I think it was,
I look back at our videos last time, and I was saying that first thing in the morning through to about 10 o'clock, it was hellishly humid and flies everywhere, and we were just dealing with humidity. And then as soon as the heat burnt it off, we were okay. But we didn't have that. But it seemed like there was more build up this time. There was more cloud around than last time, and well, no. Worked out well.
It was good.
Yeah, I mean, on the temperature gauge, I think it was exactly the same on the gauge, but it certainly felt a lot different, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. I think the other thing to mention too is the reason for the logistical challenge is that we enjoy a comfortable camp.
Comfort was way
better. Whilst that's a thing to joke about, the reality is if you're hunting somewhere between 10 and 15 kilometres every day in between 35 and 40 degree heat and hauling out parts of buffalo on your back, a comfortable camp is a little bit more than a luxury. It's closer to a necessity, in fact. Being able to go back and flop down and be relatively have a cool drink and be comfortable in a chair was a lot better than the first time when we were living basically out of those little tents.
Yeah, and cooking facilities. You're not living out of jet boils. You're having real food. You did a great job with the catering, Mark. There was plenty food for everyone, and
plenty of milk.
Plenty of milk.
The boys didn't drink
milk. Milk.
It was long life, wasn't it? It'll last till next year.
That's right.
So
more beer, yeah. And it doesn't matter how much you plan for beer, there's never enough.
Oh, that was disappointing. We ran out of beer. We had to ration those. That was disappointing.
Yeah. Anyway,
so on the board, 7 buffalo?
Mm-hmm. 7 buff, 10 pigs.
10 pigs. 7 buffalo, 10 pigs. And probably the most pleasing part of that was, other than day one, I think we dropped something every day, didn't we?
We dropped something day one, didn't we? I know we did.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Did Michael not get that pig the first day?
Was that pig? Was that first pig day one? It might have been. Could have been.
We saw the donkey. We saw the donkey in the morning.
Was that day one? I think so. Michael, no.
No, because the same.
It wasn't day one.
It was the pig and then your buffalo trap. So it might have been day 2.
It was day 2 because Ian, you
day
didn't
2. Yeah,
where we saw those
Ian
two
didn't
buffalo.
hunt day 1 afternoon.
No, I didn't.
So it must have been day 2.
Yeah, that's the other thing about comfy camps. You can have a nap.
Yeah,
you take a half day off, have a nap.
So that was the most pleasing thing. We saw buffalo, and we everyone got a chance on buffalo, which was really fantastic. So let's do around the traps. Jono, we'll start with you for no particular reason. Give us your rundown of what you thought, and then we'll just rotate, hey? How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good. Look, I thought it was a fantastic trip. I was concerned about the drive, to be honest. It was,
brutal.
Yeah, no, actually, I didn't find it as bad as I thought it was going to be. You know, when I looked at it and I looked at the distance, and I spoke to a few people who I actually know someone from work who grew up in Catherine, and he was like, "Oh, it's a big drive. It's a long time. You want to take?" And our plan was to get there as quickly as possible. So I was not looking forward to the drive, but to be honest, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I've never been out that way before, so I think maybe that helped because I was, constantly looking around. I think I struggled the first night. I think we pushed through. We left my place. Adam, you picked me up at I think about 9:30.
Yeah.
We headed to Mark, headed up to Toowoomba, and then we just drove straight through. So I had a full day of work, and then we headed out, and I was exhausted. But yeah, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I think, Mark, your idea of driving 8-hour shifts was a good idea. You had a good time, in the seat behind the wheel, which helped, and other people could relax. I couldn't really sleep, but, we pushed through, and it actually wasn't that bad. It was a long way. I think, what did it take us? 42 hours, I think, total. Which
that included the sleep in the middle.
Yeah,
and all that.
it was.
Yeah.
But I think we did
something on the way up and a little bit shorter on the way back. Yeah.
But yeah, look, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was beautiful country to drive through. Never been out that way, as I said, so I really enjoyed it. And yeah, we got to the property and we got lost kind of heading to camp. When you meet the farm manager and he says, you just head up here and don't go through the first gate, you go through the second gate. And, you don't realize that, the difference between gate 1 and gate 2 could be 10 Ks, but, to him on the map, it looks like this far. So we got a little bit lost, but we got there in the end. We had to do a little bit of off-roading and up and over some hills, and I was wondering how Adam was going behind us because luckily at that point I'd switched to the front vehicle, so I didn't have the dust problem and had the cooling seats, which was quite nice as well on the patrol. After 42 hours or whatever it was in Adam's BT, but no, look, we got there. It was good. We finally found the camp. Obviously, camp wasn't where we had planned to go. We had never.
Yeah, that was an interesting point, eh?
Yeah. Everything we had thought of was we'll hit, and that's where we camped before, and it was such a beautiful spot, and we had set up for that. And when we got there, the farm manager was, don't go there. You want to go to this other spot. And what a camp it ended up being, right on the banks of that creek. It was just beautiful. Really, really great camp. And to be honest, that's where we saw buffalo on the first day on our last trip. We know the other guys shot quite a few in that same area. We shot donkey out that way as well. So it was promising. We knew the area. We just had to get there first. But look, it was a great camp. Crawling around in the dark, having to do U-turns and up and over, dodging freaking everything you could, but we eventually found it, so we got there, and that was fun. What else can I say? It was a great trip. It was exactly what I hoped it would be. We saw buff, we saw pigs. We didn't get a donkey, which is unfortunate. We saw that one on the first day, but they were there. We could hear them. We heard them every night. They were teasing us. We heard dingoes at night. We saw dingoes have a swim, which was amazing. That was probably one of my best highlights of the whole trip, was seeing those dingoes that one dingo go for a swim in that billabong, because he didn't know we were there and he just came in to cool down, and I think we wished we could go in too, but I wasn't going to risk it with the crocs. But yeah, look, I loved the trip. Everything about it was just awesome, hence why I said I'd do it again next year, and keen to do it. So that was a quick brief summary for me. We'll go around. Adam, how about yourself, mate?
Yeah, mate, it was good. Like you said, I'm pretty used to the drive, so that wasn't really a big worry for me. But I don't know, just getting to the whole NT in general was great. Never done that before. That camp was definitely a standout when we thought we were going to camp on that dusty patch. When we pulled up and found old mate's freezer and we had that dust blowing in our face. And then finally found that decent camp in the long grass. And then probably third day was the standout for me with, like you said, the dingo or dingoes. And then you got a buff, Mark and I got a buff. I think that was the day I called the Barra too, wasn't it, on the third day?
I think it was.
And I think it was, yeah. So as far as days go, it was pretty out there. It was doing pretty great. So. And then, yeah, just everything was about it. I'd definitely do it again if I was invited again. So.
Just sort your battery problems out?
Yeah, Jono and I finally, after 3 or 4 days of trying to figure it out, on the final day, realised
that was so funny. So we had tried everything to try and sort out the charging, and then we were sitting there and we tried, and I tested the input on something on the voltmeter, and I saw the volts were different. And he goes, "Oh, you know what? I've had one of these fail on me before. Why don't we try bypass it?" And it was literally we bypassed it, boom, it worked. And it was like, if only we had
4 days to think of that though. Yeah. After we'd undone all the earths and reconnected all the battery and everything else, it was the last thing I thought.
Yeah, we had tried everything else, and then he was like, "Oh, I've had one of those fail on me before. Maybe it's that." And we bypassed it back.
The importance of this was that Adam was running the coffee machine off that system, and no system, no coffee. So it was, he was losing marks quickly.
What was it? 2 days without coffee we went, I think.
2 days without coffee, and anywho, that's okay. You fixed it. We've since installed backup coffee machines in the vehicle, so we'll be okay next time. What did you think of the? Obviously you'd heard about it. We'd talked about the heat. We talked about the conditions. How did that match up to life on the ground once you got there?
Yeah,
up to expectations. Harder.
The heat, I didn't think was too bad. Like I said, it wasn't too humid, so I was expecting a lot more humidity, which would make it harder. But it's just hot, and at least the nights were cool. So you could, once you did get back to camp and had a shower, you were cool for the rest of the night. Wake up fresh again. So it was pretty easy to cope with, really. And at least the flies weren't there. That was the other thing I wasn't really looking forward to, was flies. Without that humidity.
It was just that last afternoon. So
found the totem pole. That's why.
It
wasn't helping.
I went and saw Adam the other day, and he said he still has flashbacks to me picking up this head of mine, and the whole thing just started crawling with maggots. And he says he still fucking thinks about
it. You couldn't see any skull; it was just all maggot.
I've got a beautiful photo. I was going to post it on Instagram, but I didn't. I was going to check whether this was Instagram friendly enough, but I'll post it here in our chat so that you can see it. But I'll post it in our messenger chat so you can see it and you'll know what I'm talking about. But I'll probably post it up. I just wanted to check with everyone first. It's a bit gruesome. Anyway, we'll carry on. I'll get that into the chat in a sec.
I was impressed with the ice system you guys had too. That worked really well. Perfect. Like no one suffered anything at all. And then, we had pretty much exactly the right amount of ice too, didn't we? Last day.
Yeah.
Down to the half day almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we took the right amount. I don't think you would need more. I certainly wouldn't take less. I think everything worked out pretty well from a fridge. If I had to change one thing, I think I'd probably taken, if not an, because I know we're having issues with the power, which we didn't realize at the time. We thought a fridge had failed. I think if we'd had that extra fridge, I would have taken more meat, even more. I know we all brought back a decent amount, but I would have brought back more meat. But thinking about it, when I was doing butchery here, what I'm thinking next time is I'm going to take a vac seal and actually, when I'm there, process it into the bigger, primary cuts and then vac seal it, and then get it in the fridges, because I found we were just piling meat on top of meat, and I actually had one backstrap that was sitting right at the bottom wedged go bad because it just wasn't getting chilled quick enough. So when I opened it up, it was all green. So I'm keen to bring back as much meat as we can. So I think next time, one thing I want to take is a Jenny, because surprisingly, you'd think up there you would have a lot of sunshine, therefore you're generating a lot of solar. But we were running those fridges at freezer mode. We were pulling so much power that I think next time a Jenny would make a big difference, just to make sure that we were topping those batteries up to keep those fridges going.
I think explaining that too is the way that we were working that system is we had colds in the fridges and ice in the eskies, right? And then we would bring, a buffalo would come into camp, cut up, and if you've shot a deer, how long it takes for the deer quarters to cool down. Well, we didn't have the luxury of hanging it. It needed to get rapidly cooled down, so it got broken down into chunks, and then everything would come out of the fridge and go onto the ice because it was already cold and it wouldn't melt the ice. If you put the warm meat straight on the ice, you'd lose your ice rapidly. You'd just lose it. So we were dumping it in the fridges, and then the fridges would cool that down. By the time we woke up in the morning, those fridges were back down to 3 or 4 degrees. But it would take all night to get those fridges cold again. So that was the process we were running through. And then that would be really, really cold meat. And then the next buffalo would come into camp. That'd get broken down into quarters. You'd take the meat out of the fridges. That could now go on ice because it wasn't going to melt the ice, and the warm meat, and repeat. So those poor bloody fridges, they were just being smashed. Yeah. And I think the other little issue that we had, and I don't know whether this was a real issue or just perceived, but the solar controllers got so hot they stopped working. So it's a harsh place. It was really good to test some of the gear. The panels worked fine, but the controller, we had to swap a couple of controllers out because they got cooked. And that wasn't the only thing that got cooked, was it, Mark?
No, lots of things got cooked.
The aim point. The aim point had a problem for a bit.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. It had kind of like you, it had heat stroke.
Yeah,
I had to put it to bed for a night, and next morning it was okay. But yeah, there was a whole 18 hours that it stopped working. So we did a battery change on battery change on battery change, and then did another battery change, and then it started working, but it was completely useless. It was just this glowing light inside. So I put it to bed, as it were, and grabbed a 3006, and the next morning I checked it and it was working again. And so from that point on, I made sure that, whenever we came back in camp, I put it in a position where it couldn't get hot. But yeah, it got cooked. Not permanently, but certainly enough to stop it, from functioning, which is interesting because, that's a military grade bit of equipment. So it was quite it was strange that it happened, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it'll certainly be interesting to get some feedback from Aimpoint, because it wasn't a fairly unique situation. It was a hot day. It's black. It's metal parts. It would have warmed up. Then it was left in the car.
Yeah, it was left in the car, and probably, it was left in the car, so that's stinking hot. And the fact that, it's sitting on a metal barrel, so yeah, the radiator heat off the barrel probably had something to do with it as well. And it's sitting on a rail, and it's a double rifle, so it's sitting on basically, 2 chunks of metal. But yeah, it cooked it out. And we were swapping batteries, and we were swearing at it and trying to figure out what we could do, and we realised that was it. It was just being affected by the heat, but it came back from it the following day.
Lucky.
Yeah, it was. Because I don't think I'd taken a buff by then.
No, it's before.
You hadn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Had you shot the pig
that was
with it?
After we shot the pig with it, but I'd helped put you on those we shot that one on the water with Jono. So yeah, I'd actually hadn't shot a buff then, and I thought, hang on. And whilst it's got iron sights, there's no way I can use iron sights with my eyesight. So I thought, I'm going to have to kill it with the 3006, but no, it came back.
Trev, general thoughts?
General thoughts? It's probably I'd have to say the best hunt I've ever been on.
Woo! That's a big call.
It is a big call. It's a toss-up with that Alps New Zealand one, but I love this more. The heat, just the most extreme conditions you could hunt in, I reckon. And getting a buff and a pick, so I was pretty happy, and helping others. I had a great time. Yeah, I didn't get heat stroke, but about 100 metres from the car the first day, I was close to vomiting, so that's pretty close, I reckon.
Yeah, we all had to work hard. There's no doubt about it.
Time Wednesday come, I had my legs. I was right.
Yeah. The general conditions to what you expected. You and I went up 10 years ago nearly.
Yep.
And it certainly wasn't the same experience. This one had a bit more planning to it, and we knew where we were going. Well, some of us knew where we were going, but the conditions, how did you find those?
Conditions, pretty much what I expected. I knew it was going to be hot. I was hoping it wasn't going to be too humid, and it wasn't too bad. Humid, but tolerable. The amount of walking, 15 to 20, 22 Ks sort of thing a day is what I was expecting. It was pretty much what I thought. I was hoping to do a bit of fishing myself, but I didn't have the energy at the end of the day. So
that's what happened to us last time. Yeah. We got back to camp. This is on the first trip. We got back to camp, and we really didn't spend a whole lot of time fishing because we were all too zonked. Just needed a bit of time out and a rest and a recharge to go again. So
yeah,
no, that's good. And you got your buff, which is what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I got a buff. So it was happy days. I stepped out and just give it. Wasn't getting away.
Wasn't getting away. That's right. That was the first one on the deck for the trip, so it was exciting for everyone. Yeah. Michael?
Yeah. For me, just getting back up to the territory in a sense outside of work was pretty good. I've been up there before for work, but when you go with work, you don't sort of really soak up the scenery per se. But so it was good for me just to get up there and just sort of be in the back seat and staring out the window and enjoying all the scenes and everything that comes along with driving through the territory. It was pretty cool, I reckon. So I really enjoyed the drive. And then a big takeaway from me, any sort of chance I get to get away outside of my normal sort of hunting circle and stuff like that, predominantly being on the public stuff, just getting into the private. And so everything from pulling up at the station there and talking to the owners and, meeting a few people that work there and stuff like that and hearing them just sort of, it's just a completely different world up there, from all the day-to-day stuff that's just normal to them. You're just sort of listening to it all going like, well, this is pretty cool. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and then that alone onto all the experiences we had after that, with the two stalks on buffalo that I got that sort of got within that bow range, just didn't quite get that window that I needed to slip one in with a ethical bow shot. Both times were just a little bit too quartering for me to take that shot and settle the pin, but even just being that close to him, I think that first one there was something. That first buff will be something I will, buddy, remember forever. I reckon that was pretty cool to have happen on the first day. So no, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and one of the things from there, all of you, because I just spent a bit of time with everyone out there, I picked up something from each and every one of you. So it's pretty cool to sort of hunt with new guys and pick up different things, and also sort of be seek clarification, the stuff that I sort of thought I knew and seen you guys doing. I was like, okay, all right, I'm doing the right thing here, sort of stuff. So it's good to hunt with guys that have been doing it for a bit longer than me. It's good. Yeah.
I think you're going to have to tell us about that first morning experience, because
we'll get there, Jono. We'll get there. But everyone's had a round.
Are you having a go and I haven't had a go? What are you talking about?
No, we still got a couple of days.
So for me, it was far more adventure than hunting. That was the thing I liked about it. It was just this. That's why I think, it resonated so well with everyone. This was an adventure. We went on an adventure. Big drive, BT50. Whoever designed the back seat must have been for someone who suffered some kind of injury where they didn't have legs. Cramping, but I'd never been west of Mount Isa, so that was in a car anyway. So that was interesting when we turned off and went through Mount Isa and Cloncurry to Mount Isa. So that was and then getting to the homestead the next morning was that homestead was really weird in a way. We'd been, we drove 20 something hours at first. Well, we drove around the clock, didn't we? Because we stopped. What was it, Avon Downs at 11:30 the next. So we drove more than 24 hours. We drove and we stopped, and we just camped there, and there's people sleeping there, and we just rolled in and made a lot of noise. And I remember I said, I'm just going to snooze in the front seat, and I closed my eyes, and then 5 hours later, Adam says, waking up, and I went, what happened? So I was obviously pretty exhausted. And then we went on, and you're in a place where you've never been before, and you drive along, and all of a sudden you come to this homestead.
Oasis.
I get a bacon egg breakfast and a coffee, and walk around. It felt like kind of recharge the batteries, and then made the big drive in. There was lots of laughs in the car too. We were probably making some disparaging comments on the various places we passed, things like that. We passed some place that the guys were talking about. There had been a Netflix special on it because someone had disappeared there, and then we got into it was really interesting when we got in there, and because we had this vision, we're going to go to and we're going to do this, and we get in there, and the guy goes, yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to go here. This is where the buffalo are. So we went, okay, sure. And that was a experience itself getting there. And as everyone said, that camp was fantastic. True bush camp, river, wild dogs howling, bloody donkeys braying in the middle of the night and all hours, and getting out amongst it. Yeah, it was hot. It's hard. It's hard work, but it's certainly rewarding. It was great to see everyone get onto something. Saw Adam get his first buffalo, which was, pretty exciting. Saw Jono pop one, got a couple myself, and then saw Michael line up with one with Trev on backup. That was pretty interesting to see. Unfortunately, the video is on the star of that video, the way the camera angles worked out. So we're going to have to edit that up because, there's me and there's this little movement. It's you guys in the long grass. So we're going to have to change that. And even on the last day when we saw that, what did we call him? That Mike Tyson bull running across the flat, the tops there at top speed. I was glad he wasn't running at us, I tell you. I didn't hear him. I just saw this movement turn around. This thing's flogging along. And then we saw some, we had a chance on some later that day. So every day except for that first day we were getting action. It was actually good too that we kind of figured out something about their behaviour and where we thought they might be, and how that's always really rewarding when you kind of go, let's try here and it works. And you kind of
I think that's the beauty of the time, Mark.
That's it.
We were talking about Nundle and taking a week. I was talking to someone else about Fraser. When you go to Fraser, it deserves the week to just settle in and be done. Just needed the week just to make sure that you just figured stuff out. And you guys figured out that recipe pretty well within 2 or 3 days. You knew where to go and when to go, and it was just all on. So it
was really interesting. And just for those listening, just as to when you hunt deer, you tend to hunt with this idea that the sun is an attractive thing. When you hunt in the Northern Territory, the sun is the enemy. So you've got to kind of think 180 degrees. So, and then when you're on a cattle station where the cattle is the dominant species, by numbers, a water source that appears attractive to a cow, as in cattle, is not attractive to buffalo. And buffalo don't drink. They, as we all saw it, they get in there and they stay in there. There's a reason they call them water buffalo. They get in there and they stay in there for hours on end. We saw these ones that Jono pointed out, spotted first, that I shot 2 of. They were glistening in the sun because they were wet. And I mean, they were not
just come out of the water.
Not damp. Yeah. They were wet. And even when they were still on the ground, we hit them. They were wet. Ian, you shot that one. It was
in the
3/4 submerged. It was a submarine. That's it. So that idea that these animals bathe for periods of days, and that in the afternoon they appeared to go uphill. And we think that was because maybe there's more breeze up there, so they get super wet, cool the body temperature down. Then you try and find a place where the breeze can keep it lower for longer. I mean, that meat we took off that one in the water was, it was cool to the touch. So that was really interesting watching Adam and hook that barra, and Jono crawled down to the bank and grab that barra. Was and then 6 men were fed by one fish. That was pretty impressive.
Those fish. That was
pretty much. I shot a really old ugly boar, which I was really excited about. He was a big ugly thing.
The ears on that thing.
Jaws. His ears. He was just an old boar. Had been fighting all his life. He was a savage looking thing. That was really that was a highlight. Dropping those 2 buffalo. That was good for me. That souvenir. That was from the one that I double lunged and it dropped it in the spot. So we retrieved that. That was that was something I haven't done too much. So there was so many things that I experienced, and even watching I love watching Michael hunt. I know you said you learnt from us. I just like watching you do it, mate. I'm just a blaster. I just go in close and try and kill the thing. You're like, I'm going to put this between the 3rd and 4th rig.
Yeah.
Really?
Had a bit of calculation to do.
Just watching you, it's like this, and when you're in camp, you just you maintenance all the time and things like that. It was actually really enlightening to see a different approach. I was very impressed by the way you approached everything in that regard. I can remember you were talking. I'm gonna stick it here, like you were talking about an inch spot on this, bloody 12-foot canvas. You wanted there's a speck of dust.
Yeah,
shoot that.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah,
that's it. So that was really that was a highlight for me too, and getting the hunt with the double rifle. Gloriously impractical device it is. But it works, it beats the hell out of you. It's not particularly accurate.
You had a wicked bruise on your shoulder.
That's right. It's not particularly accurate. It beats the shit out of you, but it kills things pretty well. And I'm sure when they invented that double rifle, they had no idea that someone would carry it in 40-degree heat with a backpack on. It's not meant for that. So that was also a big part of it for me too. And so, I'm keen to go back. I've already bought a power supply and one of those pump bottle showers.
Oh, you've got the pump bottle shower. They're good.
Yeah,
they are good.
I followed your advice. I went the Soul Beach one.
Just bought the Beach Soul one and
moved on. Bought one of them.
Donated your money to an Australian family. Good on you.
And bought one of those Blue Eddy or what it is, power supplies. So,
I'm going to say much the same as you guys. The trip for me, as a total package, was just awesome. And the drive, yes, it was brutal. Probably not so much on the way up. Lots of excitement. Yes, it was long. We had our stops. There's some cool stuff to see along the way. The time passed pretty well, and having the nap in the middle. We had to because we were managing fuel stops, and it got to a point where we hit last fuel, and the next fuel stop that we needed to get to wouldn't open until 6 a.m. So there was no choice. We're either going to drive all the way to that fuel stop and camp at the fuel station, or stop somewhere a little bit nicer and camp on the side of the road, which is what we did. So that all worked out pretty well. And I completely agree. Barclay Homestead was just like this oasis in the middle of nowhere, a captive audience. They could charge whatever they want for anything that they sold because you had no choice but to pay for it. If you wanted a coffee, I'm surprised it was as cheap as it was. And the fuel, I thought, was going to be like just really, really horrible. But it was, it was only maybe 50 cents more expensive per litre than everywhere else we'd been. So the fuel bill checked up, driving both the cars up there. I think we were somewhere around $1,200 each way in fuel in my vehicle, and not too different for you, Adam, but we were towing a lot of stuff as well. So absolutely worth it. And I think next time we go up, we'll do something very, very similar. maybe a couple of gear changes, but I think we'll take the cars again. That was a magic idea. Camp, like you've said, bush camp was great. I think camp was one of the highlights. I always enjoy the camaraderie of camp. Get to know people a little bit more, and when you're in camp with a group of fellas for a week, you can't hide your traits. You are who you are, and it eventually comes out. And it was a solid group of people, so it was really, really good to have everyone along. And those luxuries were nice. Having a shower this time. Last time we had a couple of packs of wet wipes each, and that's all we got. This time we had a shower, the porta shitter, those sorts of things were all very, very well received. Just made everything nice and comfortable. So that was really good. Other highlights for me, look, I had a couple of goals. I wanted to take a representative head. Last time I shot a young bull. I wanted something that looked more like a buffalo, and I was lucky enough to do that. And we'll talk about the buff we shot in a minute and how that came to be. But I was lucky to do that. But my primary goal was to get Trev here onto one. It's a dream. It's been a dream hunt that we've talked about a lot, to get you onto one, and would have been cool to get you onto a second one, and maybe we'll get another chance to do that. But at least you got out there, you experienced it, had a great time, shot the buffalo, saw people shoot buffalo, got onto the peaks. Like, it was just a cracking experience. So that was really cool to be able to do that. And as what Mark said, watching Michael hunt was fun. I was probably more privileged to hunt with him for longer. And just watch how he went about his work. It was fun. I could almost feel Trev cringe every time we saw an animal that was alive, because I'd say, bows first. And I'm pretty sure Trev wanted to say, I want to shoot that, I want to shoot that, I want to shoot that thing. But, when you get an opportunity to stalk an animal, it was just awesome to stick Michael in front and us go in as backups. And, we watched them get in on that, the first buffalo. And I'll let Michael tell the story about the first buffalo a little bit more. But, we had 10 minutes in front of a giant bull, and just watching how that whole process unfolded, because Trev went on back up and Michael went forward, and I was off to the side about 50 metres away, so I was able to just watch how they went about their business, and it was really cool. But to your point, Mark, where he was deadly focused on the anatomy of that animal, prior to coming in, tuning your bows. Yeah, we just don't quite do that with rifles. It's like, have I got a big enough bullet, it's going to punch all the way through that thing? Oh, well, if I don't, have I got 6 more to follow? Michael's into, I need to get this in this window, and this is what it's going to be. So on day number 2, we were driving along to our spot, and we found a carcass pile of 5 rotting animals that had been shot maybe a week earlier, and they stunk. Hey, it was at that point of stink that the wind was coming in our direction, that it got in the back of your mouth and your throat, and you could chew on the stink. It was that thick. Well, anyway, Michael's like, "Yep, I'm in there. Let's go." He's in there and he's poking around in these dead carcasses, checking that his anatomy pictures were right. And all this stuff. It was the fun.
Yeah, it was good.
He's just right.
It was good seeing him alive, and then also seeing that I was able to get up and, like you're saying, poke and prod and really get that picture of, okay, yep, where I'm thinking I need to hit him is where I need to hit him. Yep. Yeah, it was good.
I was gagging and walking the other way.
Oh, it was so funny. But yeah, I mean, just a real student of hunting, and you just soaked all of that stuff up. So that was a lot of fun, because you were very inquisitive about a lot of things, and that worked really well. One of the other things that I think made this trip so different to the last one, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about it, but we had new tools this time. I got a shout out to Athena. Rob at Athena Spatial, he put together a map of the property for us, and with his GIS knowledge and ability to work with maps, plotted all of the probable and possible water points for us. And I'm pretty much right in saying for everybody that we hunted that map that he gave us. Mm-hmm. We looked where he said water would be, and we verified, and that's how we found water this time. Last time we had no map. So having a map and knowing where we were on the property, but then knowing where to go and find water and being able to read the land, that was bloody good. So we'll talk a bit more about that, and the ZOLEOs. it's a podcast, so we've got to talk about ZOLEO. Again, just the comms in the camp. A couple of you guys hadn't used them before, but now you've seen how they work. Just so much easier to coordinate and see how people are going, and you hear shots and you can talk to each other and just make sure everyone's okay. It's so much easier with some of those tools. So I think that made the whole thing even less stressful than it could be, if people are missing for longer than necessary. But anyway, that was me. It was a great time. Can't wait to go back. It's going to be awesome again. And the countdown is on.
Yes. So everyone's had a ramp. So let's talk about let's do a bit of a, for those people listening, a little bit of a gear wrap up. So what was a standout bit of gear that whatever it is that everyone used up there? We've talked about the ZOLEOs.
Adam's coffee
machine. Those, but what's the standout bit of gear that you guys took with you?
Coffee machine.
Coffee machine.
Go ahead, go for it.
No. Anyone else got
the Benelli Lupo rifle? I thought was brilliant. Loved it to the point where I think I need one. I tell my wife that.
Well, there was the Timber 3006 version up there too. By the way,
there was. Yeah, I had my.
It never came out.
No, too hot. It was too hot.
It was too hot. Yeah, it was too sunny. It was too sunny for that. Yeah, it's either too wet or too sunny. So that stayed in the gun case.
What's the name? Baby Bear, just right.
But talk about that. So you used the Lupo and 3006, but we had the aim point on it as well. You wouldn't do that again, would you?
I'd have a scope.
You'd have a scope.
That rifle with a scope.
Yep. What sort of scope and why?
Ideally, I'd say a 1 to 6, but a 2 to 10 or something like that would be perfect. Maybe a 2 to 10. I think because I've hunted all my life with a scope, every time I put it up, that red dot put me off. Fine if you're 40, 50, 100 metres, but anything over that, I didn't have the confidence.
Which is fair. Yeah, it had no time behind the rifle other than at the range that day. And we knew you can definitely target out to 200 metres easy enough with the aim point, but there were a couple of situations this time that we saw buffalo at distance, and that would have been handy.
With a scope would have been.
And these things come with a magnifier. You just flip over and
that would have been good. Yeah. No, there were 2 buff I could have whacked on with a scope and put them in the right place, but I wasn't going to wound one and take the chance, so I didn't take the shot.
The Lupo is a good gun.
I love the Lupo.
They are good. Yeah. Well, yeah. They are a good rifle.
Adam, anything for you specifically?
That Brackenwear shirt I was wearing definitely stood out. That made it a lot easier to deal with. I think it's the Scorcher.
Pajama pants?
No, actually they were bad out too, to be honest. They were awesome, those pajama pants. They were awesome, those Under Armour pants. I think a 9.3 though would definitely be up for next time instead of the Win Mag.
Yeah, that muzzle brake. Oh, jeez.
Definitely muzzle brake.
Oh, so on that, so Adam had that 300 Win Mag with the muzzle brake, and we got onto these pigs, and we both started blasting away, and that 300 of my ears, geez,
my ears were ringing.
Just next to him, slightly behind him, my ears were, they were bad from that. That muzzle brake, I always end up with next to someone with a muzzle brake. So, but yeah, look, we got those pigs, so it was fine. But yeah, that muzzle brake.
Weren't we talking about a BRX in 9.3 on the way back?
Yeah, we on the way back we were talking about various things. BRX and a 9.3 would probably be a very, very handy choice for the territory.
Yeah, I think
that'd be a good one gun combination with the right kind of optics on it. There won't be anything that you can't bother with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'd swap that out.
Did you feel like you were under gun with the 300, Adam?
Not so much under gun. Just maybe it's too long. It was 24-inch barrel, and it was just heavy, and maybe a fraction under gun because I shot that first buff 6 times. 6 or 7 times, I think. So, and then watching
with now that we're back, there was probably a couple of times where I called that you hit it that you missed it.
No, I missed it.
I was just working on keeping your confidence up. Come on, buddy, you're doing it. You're doing it. Keep shoveling.
Little Johnny, you can do it, mate.
That's it, little Johnny. Don't worry, have another go, mate. Have another go. So yeah, I think that's an important. Well, probably I might as well talk about now is that you, in the right situation, you can kill a buffalo with 270, I suppose, or certainly a 308. And we saw a buffalo killed with a one shot from a 3006. So you can do it, but when they're in the scrub and things are happening, it does pay to have some heavy artillery with you. Once they get a head of steam up, they seem to be a very, very, very difficult animal to slow down. So that 9.3 proved a pretty good caliber up there. And I
was pretty confident with the 3006, but
yeah,
the hammerheads, they seem to hold together pretty good. I was happy with that.
Well, that's what the one that Ian took. They were 180. They weren't hammerheads. They were 180 grain Normas, the Oryx.
No, they're hammerheads.
I shot with Mark's rifle.
Okay. With my rifle.
Because you decided to go hunting with my car, with my rifle.
Which is good of me.
It was good of you to take my rifle for a drive. I decided to show up.
And Jono didn't tell anyone that he had a 3006 there.
Everyone knew I had the 3006, but we were all rushing to get it.
I completely forgot you had that.
That was a Tika and a 3006, and that, said the 180 grain Oryx.
To that point, yeah. Well, a good position shot. That one that I took, it was a bullet to the back of the head or the back of the neck, and it didn't go anywhere. What do you? I mean, I believe that buffalo with its adrenaline going, once its adrenal glands are filled up and it's charging, it doesn't matter. Unless you get a really well placed spine shot that's just going to paralyze it on the spot. Like you say, they're hard to slow down. You've got to keep at them. If you had one in exactly the right situation, right, broadside, give you the perfect shot, you could probably take it down with a single shot broadside. But that back of the head shot seems to work pretty well. But broadside, if you don't get a spine shot, I don't think you're going to stop it with your first one anyway.
The one I put down with the one shot was a double high lung, and that seemed to just deflate it. It just deflated because we're actually there and it just disappeared. We went, it's down, but it literally just deflated it. But it wasn't. It hadn't got full locomotive active. It was still there. It was milling around. I saw it. I was able to take the shot and get it, and that's the one we retrieved. So it was a double high lung, and all it had was a large blood stain on one side because it didn't go all the way through, and there was this very pronounced hole with a ring around it, like a bruise ring, and it was just still sucking out when we came up to it, and I think you said, Michael, that one of the shots they try to do is collapse the lungs.
Yeah,
that must have collapsed its lungs, and so sucked all the air out of it.
A lot of bow hunters will try and hit that high lung.
I don't think from a broadside, it's almost you want to try and smash a leg rather than try and.
Well, that's what I did on mine. Yeah, was I went for that front leg, and if you watch the video, you can see the whole front leg sort of lifts up.
Yeah,
but it still ran.
In that video, you see it, hit it, and it does that, like it kicks up like its leg is mangled, but it still starts moving, and then you hear the thump from the double, and you see it just disappear. It just goes, it just goes down the double. When I hit it with that first shot from the double, it put it down then. But that was a very well hit buffalo to start with. But so they have a reputation being an incredibly tough animal, and it looks like it.
That first one I shot, didn't he go down and stand up a couple of times when he was running?
Yeah, well he kept on getting up.
Moving, he kept getting up.
Kept on getting up. It went, oh, he's down. No, he's up again. No, he's down. He's up again. He just didn't stay down.
What surprised me was the size of the cows compared to the big bulls. They're almost double. So you need a lot of rifle for a big fella.
Big bulls, big A.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I mean, they're huge, yeah. They're an incredibly large animal. For me, gear-wise, obviously the double rifle was a bit of a dream for me. I didn't think I'd ever get a chance to use a double rifle. It's right-handed too, so I'm using it as a lefty. So there was that, and the Seiko ammo that went along with it. Apart from that, though, something that I found was that that blackout tent that I was using. It's one of those. I think it's a Coleman. They're blackout tents, and it is. It's pitch black inside, and it seems to make them cooler as well. So it was a very comfortable tent to be in. You get in there and it's black. I mean, I could still hear braying donkeys and howling dogs, but you didn't get any light leakage, and it seemed to be. I wouldn't want to sleep in a tent during the day up there, but when you went into it, it wasn't like that incredibly oppressive heat that you get often when you go inside a tent during the day. So yeah, I thought it was a really good bit of kit for that for that country.
Well, on that subject, I was pretty partial to my 12-volt fan.
And I was.
That was pretty damn good. You could lie down, turn the fan on, and it'd blow in your face until it got chilly at 2:00 in the morning. That was pretty good. I think I've already mentioned a couple of things with Athena's map. It was a game changer for us. The ZOLEOs are always good. I think I was really happy to spend a lot of time with the Tatonka pack, the meat hauling pack. It didn't need to be used for hauling a heap of meat out, but as far as a pack for the day, it was doing 15 odd kilometres a day on my back. It was comfortable. It was light. It didn't give me any horrible rub areas or anything like that. So I was pretty happy with how that performed. It's always difficult to know what's going to happen when it's new. I have used it before, but not to that extended period of time. So that was all pretty good. That's probably the call out for me, Michael.
I'll probably have to say the MVP of the gear out there was the supplement store that we had. The old Mega Magnesium, I reckon, was a little bit different than what I'm used to. Yeah, the amount of powders going around in and out of water was definitely different than what I'm used to. But I see the pros and cons. It's something I'll carry away from me after that. Yeah, it definitely keeps you going. No, I pretty much run the gear I normally run. So I ran some new gear, clothing wise, some Born Primitive hunting gear and some Warfighter athletic stuff. Some real lightweight synthetic stuff that I normally like to run anyway. So pretty happy with the arrow setups and stuff like that. I was running a Terra Firma setup. I normally run the Kyogre pilot cuts, but I give the Venator and the Gladius a run. Was really happy with that blood trail on that Gladius with that second pick. That was pretty cool to see that, and to sort of just sort of broaden my horizons with broadhead selection, because I've always just sort of run the old pilot cut. So no, outside of that, the gear I normally run was pretty good. It was just good to see what type of gear you guys were running and all that sort of stuff as well. It's sort of it's good to see what everyone runs and for different reasons and stuff like that. No, it's cool.
First and second.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yep, yep. Yeah, cheering. Yep.
And you're right. The chemist warehouse that's set to the side of camp with all of the white powders. We did mix them in our drink.
Colombians weren't there.
I still can't get the taste out of this bottle.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't you from that satchel?
But there were all sorts of things going
bull
around.
Sperm stuff you gave me.
The thing that
the bull sperm
was the evening where everyone sat around and you're finally winding down for the day, and you can tell the demographic of the crowd when the vitamin and mineral boxes come out and everyone's comparing what supplements that they take in their regime or what their wives tell them to take, Adam. But that was pretty funny.
I suppose it's worth mentioning that from a I suppose from a cost point of view, for those thinking about doing it, this wasn't a particular. I mean, sure, we had gear and all that stuff, but from a laying, from a cost point of view, this wasn't a particularly expensive trip for all of us. I think about $1,200 in.
No, it was less. It was under $1,000 each in the end.
Was it less than? Yeah. Across the board, so and that's fuel, food, and I'm including there is the actual fees associated with the property as well. Yeah. Mm. So there's that. So a very economical trip. We're lucky enough to have access to private property, which is the majority of hunting in the territory. Though there is public land hunting, if you've got, it has to be a buddy system. You have to hunt with a local, but there is public land hunting, so it's not out of the reach financially for a lot of people. I thought that was also a really good part of what we did. You can pay a lot of money to go hunt buffalo, and we managed to do it on a pretty good budget. Mm. Mm. And even if you paid the costs that we paid, a lot of the costs we paid weren't actually about hunting the buffalo; it was getting to hunting the buffalo. So there's that as well. So that's something that's I think. And if you're listening, you're interested in about how the kind of the logistics, we can certainly give you some ideas about how to go around that. We took everything. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. If you thought we needed it, we took it. So because it's always better to have it and not need it than the other way around. I myself, with the supplements, as I said, I can't get the taste of one of those energy supplements
bull sperms
that you guys convinced me to put in a water bottle one day.
Those gels are good.
They were good. Mixer.
You're supposed to just have them straight out of the packet. They're not supposed to be mixed into water, right?
You can mix them in water if you want, apparently. But
yeah, it says you can mix them in water.
But they're just a shot, really.
Yeah, that thing was just bloody horrible.
So I waited for my Yeti for my electrolytes to get low, and then I would put in one of those energy gels and top it up, and it would bring the flavour back because otherwise it would just be diluted. And yeah, Mark came up and said it looks like bull sperm. And so yeah.
Well, going back to for the magnesium effect, we had Megamag, and Megamag was also in the electrolytes, wasn't it? It was a main base of what was in there.
Yeah, that's it.
What we have figured out, if you have too much magnesium, you get the shits really quickly. So,
I've asked a few people about that, and the general consensus is there's different types of magnesium for different types of effects that you're looking for, and one of the effects that you may be looking for with magnesium is bowel cleansing. So you might want to, next time you go buy the magnesium, say, can I have the one that replenishes lost muscle, helps with muscle fatigue, rather than the one that helps me clean my bowels.
Tell us about it, Anna. This is we were taking the right stuff, surely.
Yeah, it's Endura. What is it? Metagenic Endura. Yeah, Endura stuff, which is like that's a long distance running.
2 teaspoons a day, not 8.
Yeah, and we were doing. I think I was doing 8 or 10 at one stage. Definitely got to me.
And what is the overdose effects of magnesium if you take too much?
That's right.
So
you get the shit really fast.
Yeah. The overdose effect of magnesium is that that one morning someone finds the toilet blocked and the handle won't move.
And you're looking for the shovel real quick.
Yeah, you get sticking with someone was poking it and trying to.
That's right, man. This thing's jammed up. That's the.
I think next time in the camp brief we need to explain how to use a camp toilet. I think that's probably.
All right. Fair enough.
No, the handle was shut, was stuck.
Too much magnesium.
That's it. I mean,
6 days of magnesium.
That's it. It was stuck. It wasn't. It was overloaded. There's probably a load rating on that toilet, and we passed it.
Well, I'll let you know. I've been taking Mega Mag in the same dosages since we got back, and I've lost weight.
Yeah, well, not surprising. It's not surprising.
Chugging it up. I might even have some still in here.
That's it.
That's the taste that Mark's talking about.
Interestingly, one of the things that was that the hydration system that we've now used twice, and to quickly explain, is a combination of carrying iced water and cold water with electrolytes. We didn't go through as much drinking water as we thought we would.
No.
We had about 100 litres extra.
We ran out of all of the shishi water, but we still had.
Yeah.
The last two nights we actually had like Brisbane tap water
for
showers.
Yeah,
we had enough left.
Yeah, we had about 100 litres of standard tap water because you just didn't. I think that's in the really standout feature of that hydration approach is that you just don't drink as much water because what you drink is so much more effective. So you're not literally just trying to drink gallons and gallons to top back up. What you're finding is very, very effective. And I noticed that when I was out hunting, I was only just sipping it at times. You just don't seem to burn through as much because what you're using seems to be so much more effective.
Yeah, I got to add to that. So we've talked a bit about camelbacks, the bladder systems and things like that, and they were really popular for a long time, and they still are really popular. But I found after getting dehydrated once, in fact, you were there, weren't you, Severn? You can sip on a hydration bladder all day, but it's not cold water when you're in hot conditions, and you've got no idea how much is left in it unless you stop and have a look. So all of a sudden you're out of water. So I moved to using the Yeti bottles and having a purposeful stop to drink so that I could monitor what I was drinking more and make sure I was being looked after, which was really good. The problem with that is up there, like you're carrying a lot of water. I was carrying a 4-litre bladder plus the 2 Yeti bottles. I eventually limited how much was in that 4-litre bladder just to remove some weight. But I got sick of taking the pack off to have that drink, and I noticed a couple of you guys had side pouches just for your water bottles. So that's a piece of gear that I'm definitely going to invest in this time. You had yours on the side of your pack.
No, it wouldn't. Well, you couldn't
just
really
a bit
get
of a pain.
it in there. I actually come home and bought one of those side pouches.
Yeah.
Since that trip for that reason.
Yeah. So Mike had one. And it I just saw him sipping on it all day. It was really good. So I was quite jealous because I didn't want to stop. Typical, I didn't want to stop and take my pack off and get another drink of water out. So that could have been detrimental to me, but that's something I'm definitely going to add.
Yeah, for me, I was going to say just so I ran the Yeti system plus I took a Camelback, the 3-litre Camelback, and next trip I won't take a Camelback. I'm going to get one of those bladders like you were running.
Yeah.
I just found the water got warm. It was so hard to get out of the bladder to get into the Yeti to top it up to get cold water. It was just for that sort of hunting is just not suitable. When I'm hunting red deer or fallow deer or whatever, I'll take the Camelback. But for up there, it just doesn't work. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, that 4-litre bladder of mine it's got a bit of insulation in the outside packing, like the outside bag that it fits in. It's like a goon bag, basically. It's a goon bag inside a hardened, not hardened, but it's a cordura style outer. But every night I drop that in the fridge. So when I took that out of the fridge when we went out and it dropped it in my pack, it was at 1 degree. 2 degree, and by the time we got through the morning session, it had warmed up a bit, but it certainly wasn't warm like a Camelback bladder was. So I rate that as a concept.
Yeah, there's definitely one change for me.
I've got 2 4-litre Cedar Summit bladders. Unfortunately, I took it with me and I couldn't find it when I was up there. When I got home, I found it. I packed it away. So I just used some plastic water bottles. The only problem I found with the Yeti is it's noisy. With the
ice in it.
Clinks. And I from my Kuyu pack, I had a pouch that fitted the water bottle. I couldn't get a decent fit, so I had to rig one up on the the modulus. So that's one of the things I want to improve about the modulus. I want to.
What was wrong with yours? Didn't you have a Yeti sleeve for your bottle?
Yeah, but the way the sleeve, the clasping mechanism on the sleeve works really well with the Kiryu pack. Doesn't work currently very well at all with the modulus. But I'll figure it out. It's just I'll figure out a way to put it on. But that's it. Because I wanted to have it on my hip, but I had it up here because that was the only place I could get it. I suppose another bit of interesting standout gear was.
Just before you move on to that,
yep.
Mike had the Kafaru holder. It was Kafaru, wasn't it, that you had?
Yeah.
And it went onto the webbing on the
water bottle patch,
on the weight belt, and that looked like a really solid bit of gear.
Yeah.
That's got like a mono type fitting, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Molly system's a little bit different on some of the Kafaru pouches. It's like a buckle style push through as opposed to like your weave through Molly. But as long as there's a Molly stuff there, it'll all weave through and pull through. Yeah, it's pretty decent gear.
I might have to look at that.
Yeah, marsupial gear also have a water bottle pouch as well. So give us a holler if you're looking at stuff. I'll show you some stuff. I have to have a look at it. I have to double check the sizing. There may be more sizing. I have to look into it for you. But yeah, there's a few different models out there. So across the board, water bottle holders, we could figure something out.
Yeah. I think that's strange enough. That was what I was going to talk about. The kind of the realization how good the marsupial gear setup is.
The mass purchases since we've come back.
And the mass purchase. Yeah, that's right.
I'm jealous. I want one.
How good it is.
What were you going to say, Adam?
I was going to say that your Yeti fit in my Stone Glacier water bottle holder, didn't it? On the side, on my hip out. Do you remember?
Did it?
I think it did. I think your smaller Yeti fit inside it. Just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've actually got the Yeti one for this, but it's if you can imagine, the clips on it are for a vertical strap. So I need so with the modulus, the straps run that way. So I actually need something to connect it. That's all. But I'll figure it out. I actually think I've probably got something in the shed to make it work.
Zip tie and duct tape.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll figure it out.
Done.
I'll figure it out.
Camo ones.
Hoochie cord.
It'll
Hoochie. Let's ask another question then. How'd you manage the dust prevention? Because holy shit, was that stuff
Cling film.
The cling wrap around the trailer.
Cling wrap.
But did it hold the dust out?
I think it reduced it.
On the way in, it did pretty well. Yeah.
I think it's impossible to tell because the trailer was dusty inside, but I have no idea what it would have been like without the cling fill. As in, it probably would have been like it would have probably been like we were carrying around a sandpit in the back, you know.
Well, I've got a photo from we took out the drawer out of the back of Adam's ute to get for the coffee machine, and the dust is like this thick on the back of that tray, and that's just from being kicked up. So all of that would have gone to the back of that box trailer. It would have been like an inch thick on the back. So I'm glad Adam took that cling wrap. Yeah,
it's just a bit of a surface layer, wasn't it, in the trailer, like on everything.
Yeah. While the Tatonka barrel bags were dusty, they didn't get any dust inside. But I had a solid plastic case, and that did, and so it got inside there. So when I got home, I went, and it's just this case was everything in that was just there was an iPad, in it was just covered in dust. So the case got dust in it. So yeah, it was actually Gemma suggested that we put some positive pressure inside the trailer next time we do that. So put a fan in there.
Yeah, well, if we'd known people had 12-volt fans, we could have done that.
Yeah, put a little 12-volt fan in there.
Kept that one quiet, didn't they, those fans?
Well, I had my 12-volt fan running positive pressure in my camper.
Yeah.
No dust in the camper.
I think that
I've already
plenty dust in all the drawers.
Yeah.
Yeah, my fridge was coated in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if we had sealed between the cling wrap and the trailer, it would have been better too, because that wasn't. If we'd take that off, it would have been better.
Well, Ryobi make a little, $70 fan that goes with their 18-volt battery system, so I don't need one just yet, but I know what I'm getting before.
We're upgrading from fans to Waco air conditioners.
That's right.
And Adam can vouch for this. I've actually got 2 portable 12-volt air conditioners, and I was asked to test them on this trip, but I didn't take them because of the size and the weight. But I do actually have 2 12-volt air conditioners in my garage right now. So,
but where would you put them, mate? In your swag?
Yeah,
put them both in my camper.
Well, then I'm sleeping in the camper as well.
That's right.
You sleep down the other end. It's all right. Well, the dust was pretty nuts. It got everywhere, and it's still getting everywhere. Every time I close the boot of my car, 3 weeks back, dust falls out.
Yeah, every time I get in, the seats puff out dust and dust all over the dash.
No, I've pretty much beaten it all, I think. I can't think of anywhere else. As I said, the only lingering thing is I've got that bloody energy drink taste out of this. It's kind of imperviated the metal of the Yeti, and it's there for good now.
So I guess we've got... I was going to say...
Oh, you go, Johnny.
I was going to say, we're talking about, gear and dust and all the rest of it. What are you going to take next trip that you wish you had taken this time? Or wish you had?
A 44-gallon drum to boil heads.
Cut down to about 2
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. And a gas burner.
Yep. You can use it for storage, stack it in the trailer, but man, would that be handy there?
Yeah, I think that's... we got back and there's a local brewery near me, and they put up this post saying free 44-gallon drums, first come, first served, and I sent it to Adam saying, this is what we need. Cut that in half, and we can boil out some heads. So I think that's a good idea. What else? What other gear wise would you take?
It wasn't that bad.
It was freaking horrible. Ask Adam.
Yeah, I had to take the trailer down to the car.
Adam's...
Get all the brain juice out of it.
I didn't think it was that bad.
I bet your neighbours knew you were home.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still do. Still smell it.
They can be secure in the knowledge that I'm here, so that's okay.
Gear I wouldn't take or would take?
Both. One of each.
Definitely take the Recipro again. That was golden, having that, being able to walk in and...
Yeah, everyone missed the box cutters on the gear chat a minute ago. Isn't that your new favourite?
Oh, 100%. That's in the pack, mandatory, every trip. Yeah, that's staying.
What was funny, I went to Bunnings a couple of days before and I looked at all the different options. And I went, that one's cool, it's got a flippy knife, and that one's cool, it's got a this. Oh, this one's blue and it folds in half. It's got a pouch and it can go on my belt, or it'll fit in here. We rock up to camp. Almost everyone's got the same knife. So clearly they marketed that well to the buffalo hunters. That was pretty good. But yeah, what a great piece of kit to add to get through buffalo hunt. Yeah.
As I said, I bought a new power supply, and I bought a pump shower, but we don't need 2 of them. But I probably, I will most definitely take a 12-volt or 18-volt fan. For comfort. What wouldn't I take? Actually, I'm not yet convinced. I'm pushing against the trend on the box cutter. I was talking to Scotty Fry, and we were talking about how to, a proper skinner knife, and I've got an idea. So next time I'm gonna take a skinning knife just for that initial hide cut. I've already got the knife. It's an old, it's a more like a meatwork style. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the angle on the blade.
Well, I had that outdoor edge skinner with that gut hook top, and that thing worked beautifully. I think I did 3 or 4 buff on that before it started getting a bit blunt and struggled. But that was so good just for opening up those backs and getting to the meat. Yeah, it was amazing.
Interesting about doing that cut. Unlike a deer, the best approach was to run it straight along the spine.
Yeah.
because that was actually the thinnest bit of hide.
The thinnest, yeah.
Yeah, the thinnest bit of hide was right on the spine. If you kind of did like you would do it normally, where you go on each side of the spine, it was just remarkable how thick it was. So that I want to try and take a Meatworks knife for that initial cut, because I found them once we were into it. I found my Benchmade knife was good enough, was plenty good enough.
I'll show you what I got for that. Is what's called a brisket knife.
You got one,
It's got the little point on it here, little snubby point, which is blunt, and then it's got the blade like that, and that goes under and skins. Basically, goes under the skin. So that's what I've got. So you're not going to puncture anything, and it is as sharp as. It's called a brisket knife.
See how that goes next year.
Yeah.
I'd have a couple of little gear changes. I wouldn't add anything specific. We talked about the bino harnesses. I've certainly learnt my lesson. We went looking for different bino harnesses to suit the larger binos. So a lot of us use these LRFs. So they're slightly longer because they've got the laser rangefinder built into them. But that also means that they don't fit standard bino harnesses easily. So we all went on a mission to try and find the right ones. Mark, I think you settled on the marsupial medium, which suits, but you could go a size larger. I went with a Mystery Ranch set that is a great bino harness, but just doesn't quite suit these binos. And Adam came with the marsupial large, which is absolutely perfect for them, and I've now swapped that out. So thanks, Mike, for sorting that out. But very, very happy with the way that fits. There's plenty of room in it, and the guys from Apex helped us out with those. So that was a really good, a good swap. And that's, I guess, one of the things about a bunch of guys heading out on a hunt is you can check different bits of gear and modify to suit based on what other people have got. But probably the only thing that I would add, and we talked about it before, is a Jenny. And a generator sounds like it would be a shit thing to have in camp, but generators these days, they'll run for 8 hours on a fuel tank. We're off hunting for 8 hours. Turn it on, go hunting. Let it do all the hard work of getting everything cold. Let the batteries charge without any load coming off them, so they're ready for night time. And then you've got quiet camp when you come back. I think that's going to be a welcome addition.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Yep, most definitely. The other thing is because I want to hunt with the double rifle again. Most of the ideas about double rifle, like double pouches, aren't designed for someone wearing a backpack. So the little pouch on your back doesn't work because you've got a back. So I've got to figure out a way to carry the extra rounds. And I'm actually thinking about what I can add to the marsupial gear setup.
The marsupial have got that little bullet pouch at the bottom.
No, it's just
still a bit slow.
Too fiddly. You want to be able to just go and grab a handful and dump them in.
Yeah, what about a
stock? Top cover that can put half a dozen rounds or more in.
A what?
A cover for the stock.
Stock
run
sleeve.
One of those. I really like it.
I want something that I can just put my hands in and grab them. So that's what it is.
Right there.
Because on there, just the way you're holding it like that, and you're breaking it like that. And the other thing is too, the challenge of that is, remember, I'm using the side the plain side, so the stock cover would have to go on the side that's got the cheek piece.
Don't think it'd matter
because I'm using it in a reverse fashion anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm trying. That's one thing I want to do. I want to figure out where I can have that ammo handy so I can just grab it.
Yeah. All right. Before we finish up, I would be keen to hear, at least from the guys that shot their first buff, the experience. Talk us through the animal. We'll start with Michael. You didn't shoot the animal, but you had a hell of an experience. Yeah. Be cool if you could talk us through that, how that went down, and that whole experience. What was going through your mind as you're sitting there staring one out?
Yeah, for sure. So I think to start off with, as we I think we covered a fair bit of ground leading up to spotting them. And when I had spotted him, I still wasn't sure because he wasn't too far off a mob of cattle. That's one thing that we noticed with some of those bulls is that they weren't never too far away from cattle. Whether they were sort of sticking by the cattle to use them as sort of like an early warning device or something like that. But a couple of times we've seen some of them bulls, they weren't more than maybe like 50 yards, 100 yards away from the cattle. So I remember seeing a mob of cattle to the right of the area where we come into, and I just remember thinking like, oh, that looks a little bit bigger than a cow. But I imagined in my head like a big sort of like real dark black sort of a bodied buffalo. It was more grayer than what I thought that I would imagine it to be seen them. And I only seen like sort of like the back half of it in my head, and almost immediately we all started sort of heading towards it, and then I think it was maybe 20, 30 seconds before we realized like, oh, no, yep, it's a buffalo. So, given the situation that we're in and it's sort of kind of like out in the open half on that side hill, the only really sort of play we had to make there was just sort of make a beeline straight towards them. So that's exactly what me and Trev did. Just started put a quick jog on to get within bow range, which we did pretty much straight away. I think we were within sort of 40 yards after that first little spurt in. And then even then I still had no sort of concept of how big he was. I couldn't see the headgear. I was just seeing body. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's definitely bigger than cattle. But I had like a few different trees that were blocking my view on the way in. So I kept inching my way forward, getting closer and closer and closer. Yeah, so definitely bigger than cattle. So yeah, I had a couple of trees in my way. So what I was sort of doing was sort of trying to open up shot opportunities by sort of trying to move around those trees. And then after he was once I realized how big he was and how sort of that he wasn't, he knew we were there 100%. He definitely wasn't afraid of us either. He was sort of doing that big, deep breath out and then just lifting his head up and looking straight at me. But he was on that 1/4 angle, which I just didn't have a shot. I had like I didn't have that frontal shot and I didn't have that, side shot because I would have either rib run or risked hitting a shoulder. So I just sort of played it out and we sort of had that standoff with him for a while. And that was at the point where I determined that the trees that were in front of me probably weren't going to do anything at all to save me. So I thought I may as well open up my shot window and just stood out to the open basically to get a bit of shot if he had presented it. And then I just felt like he was sort of sizing me up. We just had a bit of a stare off for a while. And it's for so long that I actually pulled my release aid off the D loop and decided to have a range around of everything around me just in case he moved a certain way. I was sort of building up a range card to sort of think, okay, if he goes over here, he's this distance. If he goes over there, he's that distance, because he was just sort of trying to suss us up. I think the wind was in our favor. I think he knew something was up, but he couldn't quite figure out where we were. And then so that went on for what felt to me for only like maybe a minute or two, but it was in reality, I think it was like 10, 15.
It was 12 and a half minutes that you were steering that all down. When I turned the camera on to when I put the camera down, I looked at the timestamps. Yeah. 12 and a half minutes, you stood at 35 yards off that.
Yeah.
It was a long time, man. It was such a long time.
It is a long time. Yeah. Every second.
Oh man! And then I don't know what it was that made him do that spin. Whether he winded it or he just had enough of looking at me. I'm not too sure what it was, but he done that bit of a buck and turn, and he darted across, and that's when I come to full draw on him. And he was probably at around about that same sort of distance between that 30 to 35. And I was hoping he would stop broadside, but as soon as he finished his little dart across, he just spun back around 1/4, sort of facing to where you were, Ian. Still same thing. He went from 1/4 straight back to 1/4, and then I didn't have a shot, and he come a bit further back, and that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to get in behind Trev because. Just in case he, decides to have a crack. But I think he sort of knew that odds were against him. I think the way he kept looking back over towards me and Trev and towards you, Ian, sort of he must have thought like, okay, I feel like I'm outnumbered here. I better pop smoke and get out. That's the way it sort of seemed to me anyway. Yeah.
And man, did he was so good. He caught it onto you the whole time. There was no shot for you. There was no shot for Trev. And I had a shot window for maybe 3 seconds. But I was really, really hoping that you'd get an arrow away first. So I was a bit delayed in that. And then when the opportunity did come to shoot, I looked over and I saw Trev lining him up on an ant mound. But no shot came. And it was only after when we were debriefing it and talking about it that you were leaning on an ant mound, but you had no shot.
No.
But it looked to me like he had a perfect broadside shot. So no shot went away on that bull. And holy shit, was he big. He was
huge. He was huge. Yeah. But every time he paused, he had a big tree in his chest.
Yeah, he was.
And Michael was in front of me to the right, and it ran to the wide. I just wasn't comfortable even trying to have a shot, really. I stepped forward up to that tree, but that was it.
Yeah. And he was.
But just before that, like walking up behind you or jogging, trying to keep up to you. Well, that was so good. I don't think the camera could pick it up. It was snorting at us. It knew we were there, but it couldn't wind us. It was clearing its nose, snorting, hailing in, trying to get a scent. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And that we didn't get it was, it wasn't the highlight. The hunt was the highlight. That was so good, so cool.
Oh, there, that moment on day one, it was worth the trip. Me going up just to experience that one moment. Yeah, that even though I didn't get an arrow off, like I'm always being picky about my shot placements, and I want to make sure I put it in the right spot. So whether an arrow gets in the air or not doesn't bother me. But yeah, just that one moment of being with us and that bull and him sizing us up. That was definitely worth the drive up and everything that come along with it. Yeah, just to experience that.
It was pretty cool. I was standing about 40 meters off to the left of these guys. They were on the right hand side of the clearing. I was on the left hand side of the clearing with some ant mounds next to me, and I was just standing there watching it. And it was a point in time. It had been 5, 6, 7 minutes of the 12 minutes, and I was just sitting there going, "Look at this big bastard over here. There is no way he walks out of this today," is what I thought. There's no chance that this guy can hide from 2 rifles that are going to back this thing up. And my God, I can't believe he did. But you know what? It was cool to watch.
Don't get big by being stupid, do they?
No, but I mean, he did stand there at 35 yards from a bow hunter. If that was someone with a rifle, in fact, if it was someone with a rifle, they probably would have chanced that shot back at 80 meters. He probably wouldn't have snuck into 35 like a bow hunter does. So, yeah, it was a unique experience that I'll remember for a long time. It was good.
If I changed anything to what I would have done, I was trying to hide behind a tree to keep it clear for Michael. Doing it again, I would have been out in the open where I could have had a quick shot if I needed it, instead of trying to hide. So I didn't want to spoil your hunt.
Yeah.
So what did I hear? Stuff the bow.
Not here, fuck spiders.
I was just trying to keep out of sight best I could.
Maybe we could have spaced it out a little bit. Yeah, like maybe even I know it's a bit of a safety concern having someone with me, but if we maybe had a bit of distance between me and you guys, potentially could have changed things. But you never know. It's always what ifs, isn't it?
Hindsight's 2020.
The shot was on. We could have taken it. The thing that always happens in the debriefing is we should have established some communication, some silent communication before you get into that situation. We were all focused on Michael getting the shot rather than anybody else at that point in time. And if Mike had given us a signal that we knew that said "lay into it, fellas," then we would have been able to do that. But we didn't think about that. And this was the beauty of hunting up there is, you trudge, 10, 15 kilometres in that heat, you're completely bloody wrecked, and, you might be starting to doubt whether you're going to bump into anything this time, this session or not. And then all of a sudden, there he was, all on his own, hanging out with some cows. There were no other bulls or no other buffalo around him. And it just happened like that, didn't it? It's just so quick. And that's so much the case. I think yours was the same.
I coined the phrase, it was like 8 hours of trudging and 15 minutes of excitement.
Well, we experienced something similar, Adam and I, on the last day. We were determined to try and get another buff, especially a bull for me. I was pretty keen to get a bull. And we'd had some luck on the pigs back where I'd shot my buff. But we went to a new area that we hadn't been to. And according to the map, there was a lot of water or probable water. So we literally just followed the map and went from probable water source to probable water source. And we saw a bit of sign, but not a lot. And I think we went a good couple k's up this system, and we got right up to the end, and we saw some sign, but nothing flash. And then we turned around to come back, and the wind was wrong, and we were just charging back to get back to the truck. And next thing we just buff, and we saw, I think, a mob of at least 15 to 20 buff,
at least 20,
that had cut across. It cut across the track that we had actually followed up the river system, and they had crossed over, but because we were now going back to the truck, the wind was wrong. So it just shows you, and I think that day we did 21 or 22 Ks.
That was a good day for you guys.
Yeah, it was a huge day. But they can just come out of anywhere. And, it was heartbreaking just to have done all of that walking and then have 20 buff cross the track that you had come up that system 20 minutes earlier. If we had been delayed, if we'd stopped and had a couple extra, an extra Coke by the truck or something like that, we might have bumped into them. But they're there, the animals are there. You've got to do those Ks, you've got to look for them, and you just never know when they're going to appear. That's the thing. You just got to be ready for them because they could be there.
Oh, well, that makes the trip, right? Yeah. Doesn't it? If it was all easy, it'd be, it'd be cool, but not as cool. Everyone works so hard for these.
And it's the adventure. That's what you said. It's all about the adventure. It's not just shooting buff in a barrel.
I worked really hard for mine. and I did the Ks like everybody else. But we had a fishing morning. Adam caught his barra, and it was the next morning, wasn't it? It wasn't the same morning.
The next morning, everyone was motivated.
To get up early, and go for a walk up the river. So we'd walked up the river that was right next to camp. And then we'd walk back down the river that was right next to camp, and we were sitting there. Part way up there, Jono said, I'm going to go back to camp. We were going to go up and find one more body of water to fish. And Jono said, no, I'm going to go back. We got back to camp. Jono was nowhere to be seen. We were sort of, having a rest back at camp, and Jono just casually walks in and says, anyone want to shoot a buff? I'm like, yep, I'm up. I'll do that. So off we went. And there she was. She was just bathing in the water. We'd walk past it, chatting and talking and laughing and carrying on, and it was just asleep in the river. So we casually walked up behind it from the other side of the creek and put a bullet in the back of its skull. That was the end of it. So I may not have worked hard for that specific one. I still feel like I worked hard. But it was good to be able to get right up close to it with a vehicle and drag it out and make sure it was fully recovered, that
was nice and chilled, and it was great.
Yeah.
And so fat as well.
Adam, what about you, buddy?
For the first one,
yeah,
I definitely wasn't expecting it. Like after the end of the second day, we hadn't seen anything other than that donkey. So, and then we were walking in that afternoon to that waterhole and probably not really paying attention because I hadn't seen anything, and I definitely wasn't expecting to be the first one on a buff. And next minute, Mark's yelling at me, or silently yelling at me, trying to get my attention. And he tells me that I'm shooting it, which I wasn't expecting. So a little bit of panic quickly set in, thinking I might miss the first buff. Yeah, a little bit nervous, thinking I'd missed the first buff we'd seen. So, and then it's come up to Mark and the 6 buffs sitting under that hill in the shade there in the afternoon. And then Mark making me get in front of him because of that muzzle brake. And then when I finally did start shooting them, I wasn't expecting, you've all spoken about how tough they are, and to see it go down on the first shot and then get up and start running, and then you hit it again and it goes down again and then gets up again, and then you have to keep shooting it with Mark yelling at me, hit it again, you got it, hit it again. Still stuck in my head. Hit it again. But I think I needed that encouragement because it all happens so quickly that you just don't really know what's happening, especially when it's your first time doing it. So I had no idea I was even hitting it. I just knew from Mark yelling at me, hit it again.
Shoot it again.
Hit it again.
You got it.
That's it, buddy.
But yeah, it's unreal
Buddy,
experience.
you're doing it.
And then the second one as well. That was an experience because we went back to the same place the next day, didn't we? And Mark's got this theory where he never goes in the same way again. And I don't know what changed his mind, but we went in the same way, exactly the same way the next afternoon, and we came onto the same billabong, and there were some dingoes, and we knew there was a carcass from the one that Adam had shot the day before, but we had Mark had seen a dingo running around the edge of the billabong. Turns out there was two, and this one just came running in and went for a swim in this billabong. Just walked straight in, had a dip, had a drink, and we were sitting there thinking, should we shoot this thing? Should we not? We shoot this thing that we're going to scare away all the buff, and we just videoed it and left it alone. And we walked up, and there was actually another dingo sitting on Adam's carcass, and it was nervous, but it was eating. Lift its head, chew. And we walked probably 50 meters, 100 meters further up from that, and I just saw these things glistening walking through. I'm like, buff, and off we went chasing these things. And Mark shot one, Mark shot the second one, and then Mark said to me, "Do you want to shoot another one?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then next thing, Adam's there shooting.
I was asking Mark if I could shoot the second one, so I didn't even hear him ask you if you could shoot.
Yeah, he looks at me. Do you want another one? I'm like, yes. And then next thing, Adam's just shooting this thing. So I'm like, oh. Anyway, it was great. It was awesome.
Well, he got over his nerves quick, that's for sure.
Yeah. And cracking shot. So we got there were I think there were three. I think 3 or 4, and I think we got three and 4 bulls.
So
and here's our poor crew trudging through the desert. I think we'd smoked a pig, and on the ZOLEO got 3 bulls down. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And we got lucky. We got lucky early. We saw the big buff. Then Michael shot a pig. Then Trev shot a buff. And then you guys still hadn't seen anything. No. And then all of a sudden the tables turned, and you guys are just dropping shit everywhere. Well, man, what are these guys doing?
We took Michael in there the next day, and again,
all of our water was not there. It's like
I took Michael and Trevor in there the next day. And I thought, I don't like going back. This is 3 days in a row, and this time we don't even make it to the waterhole. Mm-hmm. I said, there's one there for you, Michael.
It was like 10 minutes in too, wasn't it? 10 minutes walk.
Yeah, exactly.
As I said, we didn't actually even make it to that first. Because remember, the idea was we were going to walk those 3 lagoons.
Yeah.
We never got there.
We ended up walking down there just because we wanted to see if they were there.
Just to go down to say we walked it. Yeah. So that was it. That was crazy. They were just there.
But you got you lined up on that one, Michael, I think, at like 30.
Yeah. Same thing again in the 30 hours. Got the full draw, but I think he caught me as I come in a full draw. He turned his head right as I was coming in a full draw, and I think the motion of me moving, and it was once again was a pretty quick stalk up into him, pretty much running at him again, because I found of all the pigs and that I seen, if they weren't on water, they were on a mission somewhere. They weren't sort of just milling around. They were moving, making their way to wherever it is they needed to be after coming from water. It seemed to be. It was always like that movement. So which was different for me in stalking situations, is every sort of stalk I got was other than the pig that was bedded in the dam, was I was pretty much jogging after him to keep up with him to try and create some kind of a shot opportunity. Yeah.
That's it. And and that one we saw on the last day, and that was, within a kilometre of that waterhole.
It was in the same zone, wasn't it?
It was the same zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, all up, super successful trip. Everyone had a great time. We didn't break too many things. We had Michael doesn't know this, but he knew because he was driving. But we had the slowest encounter with a kangaroo on the road that you could ever possibly imagine. 2 big bloody kangaroos sitting in the middle of the road having a punch up. And Michael, it's what time is it? 2 o'clock in the morning. Michael, kangaroos. Yeah, mate, got him. Literally drives right up to him, stops, drives around him, and he's right next to us. And then he just decided to turn and jump into the door.
Yeah.
Just happened to put 2 nice dents, one on each door.
Just
Michael,
shoulder check the car. Yeah, just let us know that that's his road. Yep.
About 5 kilometres an hour. This stupid thing. But other than that, there was no real damage or carnage or anything like that. But I do have a surprise for somebody. The first speeding fine has showed up.
Oh.
It came to our friend Hendo. So it is a photo of the back of his trailer.
Oh.
Yet to be determined who was driving, but we will find out soon enough. Jono, Adam, or Mark, who owns the points. We may be fair and share the fine, but
how much is it?
Don't know yet. The story gets weirder. Hendo bought this trailer off somebody else, and that somebody else has just been randomly paying his rego since he bought it. Obviously, the rego just keeps coming in the mail to him. He just keeps paying it. So now he's got a fine. He's looked and he goes, "Oh, what's going on with this?" And he's only just realised he keeps paying for Hendo's rego. They don't know each other, but it's on its way to Hendo now to figure out what time it was. There is a chance that it wasn't us. It could have been him driving, but we'll find out.
I don't remember seeing a speeding camera.
It was probably me bringing the. No, did I bring the trailer down? No,
who knows, mate? It depends where it was. I mean,
you did bring it down.
I remember seeing like one sign for a speed camera. There was like a dip or something like that, but I don't actually remember seeing the trailer.
Yeah.
There was one at a bridge. Yeah, we'll find out. It was probably me bringing the trailer to Brisbane that caught the fine in the end.
I don't think we ever speeded.
Camera, was it?
Well, I mean, in the territory,
maybe it's the train.
Could
the
be
bridge cross.
Could be that bridge crossing, but then I'd be getting one too.
Who knows?
Yeah, true.
Maybe yours is still on the way.
I will find out. Hopefully, it's not too bad.
Well, I don't remember us ever speeding though.
No.
It could have been me taking it back, maybe.
It's definitely different having a speed limit that's 130, though. You get sort of complacent with that.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't even go. I mean, there was whole times we didn't even go near the speed limit because it chews up too much fuel. Yeah.
Well, no, that section from Barclay. Once we hit the Stewart, was it that went north?
Stewart. Yeah.
Once we hit the Stewart, and we were on the last 4 hours to Mataranka.
From Elliot on.
Oh, from Elliot, we fueled up at Elliot. We had like 250 k's or 300 k's to go. I put my foot down 130 with the.
We never did that.
I burned a whole fuel tank for 300 k's. You could just see it. Anyway, you got to do these things.
Cool.
I think we've come to a natural conclusion, gentlemen.
I think so.
That's a wrap for this year.
11 months to go till the next one.
Yeah, it's gone.
Let's do it. All right, cool. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. It was an awesome trip. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, guys.
No worries. All good.
Yeah, exactly. It was the best trip ever, and thanks for having us.
Yeah. You're all more than welcome.
All right. Talk to you again.
See you later, guys.
See you guys.